Hey developers, so today we're going to look at Firebase. We're going to use it with Nuxt, and we're going to show you how you can secure certain routes inside your Nuxt app using Firebase without any issues. But before we get too far, let's have a quick word from our sponsor. Today's sponsor is Eduonix. If you don't know, Eduonix is a course platform. It's an education platform. They offer e-degrees. They offer individual courses to buy. And what's awesome is they're doing this massive Black Friday sale where all their courses are 94% off and more. So for example, this is the full stack web development course. It goes over, let's see, everything from HTML, HTML5, CSS3, jQuery, even goes into Angular, Node, and much more. It's 33.5 hours of content, and they're offering it for $6. So it's an amazing deal. In fact, you can get even additional 20% off if you use the code ERIK20, ERIK20 at checkout. Make sure you use the link in the description below if you're interested in this. You can get all these courses for ridiculously low prices. And another one, a great one, the complete web development course. It actually has 15 different projects. So you build tons of different things, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery. We can see here, down here, importance of FTP, FileZilla, headings, paragraphs, and then just go into all these different websites to get up and running. So an awesome course. Once again, only $6, and you can get an additional discount if you use the link in the description below and put in ERIK20. They have learning machines, learning by building projects. I'll have all these links in the description, but you can see they have just tons of different. This is AI and machine learning, which is really cool because if people are interested in that, these courses aren't readily available everywhere. You can get them super cheap on Eduonix. And they have e-degrees. So normally like an e-degree is a couple $100, but they have this e-degree that has why is an e-degree? So artificial intelligence is to stay in the fact. It goes over like TensorFlow learning, kind of almost a whole curriculum, and normally it would cost a couple $100, and they're charging $45 during the sale as long as you use one of the links in the description below. So I really appreciate it if you guys check this out. It helps out the channel if you click on any of the links and buy any of the courses. I really appreciate it, so make sure you check out Eduonix. Thanks. All right, so my name's Eric. I'm a full stack software developer, and I'm also a big fan of Nuxt and Vue. So you can see right here, this is what we're going to create. We're going to create it from scratch. It's really simple. We just have a home page that says welcome to test login page. We have a secret page that right now, if we click on it, it actually redirects to the login page. So we can't actually access the secret page right now. If we log in, let's log in with just a random email here that I had already created previously. I'm not going to save it into LastPass. I can access the secret route. If I refresh the page, it doesn't go anywhere. I'm still on the secret route. It doesn't log me out or do anything weird there. If I click the logout button, it logs me out. Now you probably noticed there when I refreshed it, the login page switched for a second. And I did that on purpose. I just wanted to show you guys that when you have a Firebase app and you have authentication built into it, usually there's like a second lag between when you refresh the page. But what we did here is we're actually using server-side rendering, the async data option, and with some middleware and some helpers to make sure that when we refresh our page that it stays on the page. But if we log out and we type in our route here, secret, you can see here it just automatically just redirected us back to log in here, so everything's working correctly. And before we start, what you need to do to get started here is to obviously have a Google account, go in and log into the console.firebase.google.com, and then you can create a brand new app. So if I go to project overviews here, if I go click on Firebase, I clicked add project, and then I just walked through the steps, and it created a brand new project, a brand new empty project here. And what I actually have is under authentication, I already have one user in here. And if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of how to add users, I actually did a whole YouTube video on Firebase and Vue where I created a register and a login route so you can register and create new users. I'm not going to add the register in this video, but maybe in future videos I will. But if you're interested in how to actually add new users, then I would go and check that video out. I'll make sure it's linked in the description. So one thing I did here is I did click on sign in method. I clicked on email password, and I just made sure this was enabled. Otherwise, nothing would work. Another thing we need to do is, I believe it's under project settings. Right down here, this Firebase CDN script, SDK script, we're going to use this in a second. After we get our Nuxt app up and running, we'll need to put this into a Firebase file. So I created a brand new folder here. You can see here there is nothing in it. It's empty. And so we're going to create a new app from scratch. So the easiest way to do that, make sure you have Node installed. I have Node, let's see here, Node 10.15.3, but I think 12, I mean all the newer versions of Node work. Use npx create Nuxt app, and then the app name you want to call it. I'm going to call it Firebase Nuxt. And then it's going to ask you some questions on I'll make this a little bigger here. It's going to ask you some questions on what you want. It just takes a second here. It's doing some resolving some modules. All right, so it's going to ask us a few questions. So project name, I'll hit enter. I'm just going to hit enter all through all these. I'm going to use npm instead of Node or Yarn, that is. I'm not going to use any UI framework. I'm going to use none for the server framework. We can still obviously access the server, which I'll show you guys. And I'm going to choose Axios. We might use that in future. I'm going to choose Prettier because I like it how it just formats everything nicely for me. And I'm going to use none for testing frameworks, and I'm going to use universal SSR, and then I'm going to just leave it on the JS config. And then this will just take a moment, and it'll create our app for us. Okay, cool. So everything's installed here. And by the way, don't worry about this weirdness in my command line. That's just with, I don't have the right fonts installed, and it's fine with this terminal. So I want to install a few more things. I'm going to install the Firebase. So since we're using Firebase, we'll go ahead and install it. Since I'm using a newer version of Node, I don't need to put --save, but it should install it into our package.json. Actually, make sure we're in the right directory. Oops, almost put that in the wrong directory. npm install. So what I did is I changed directory to the Firebase next. I'm going to install Firebase, so make sure that gets installed. Okay, so we have that installed, and actually I'm going to install a couple more. I'm going to do an npm install on, you could do npmi is short, for cookie parser. And this one called JWT decode. And JS cookie. So these are things we're going to use later on because we're going to save our token as a cookie and then be able to grab that on the server later. Cool. All right, so we have everything installed here that we need to get started with. Now let's see if it looks okay. So if I have my folder here, here's my Firebase Nuxt. Looks like it all generated correctly. I'm going to go ahead and run from my console here. I'm going to npm run dev, and that should actually run it in development mode on port 3000. So since that's working, go back here, and I'm just going to see, can I access it on port 3000? Cool. All right, so our app came up and running, which is good. Don't have any errors. Let's go ahead and do the first thing I want to do. I'm just going to leave it running. I'm going to kind of minimize this terminal here. Is I want to, let me see here. There we go. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to go in and to the plugins folder, I'm going to create our new Firebase config. So I'm just going to call it firebase.js. And what this file is going to do is we're going to put all the configurations for Firebase, and then we're going to tell Nuxt where to find it. So let me see here. Okay. So first, I can go back to our testing here and just copy and paste this without the script tag. And so here's all the Firebase config that we want. And we'll need to import a few things. So we're going to import as Firebase from Firebase/app, and then import Firebase auth. And by the way, the code for this will be available on GitHub. I'll make sure it's in the description. And I think that's all I want there. Now, one thing we have to do because of Nuxt and the way it renders is we have to do this thing where we check to see if the firebase.apps.length exists or not. And if it doesn't exist, then we want to choose the Firebase, actually initialize the app this way. Otherwise, you are going to run into some problems. I'm going to make this a const. And then we can export default Firebase if we want to do it like that. So this way, when it initializes, if it doesn't exist, it'll go ahead and initialize the app, but if it does exist, it won't. And this is just something weird about Firebase and Nuxt, where we got to make sure that since we have server-side rendering and local rendering, that it doesn't cause us any issues. So if we go back here, refresh it, I'm just gonna look and inspect. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't have any errors. So good. All right, so I think the next thing to do is just to clean up our index file a little bit and, I don't know, make it look a little nicer. So here's our index file. I'm just going to delete this and put in Firebase test app. I don't know if I need any of this. I'm not going to have any links. Don't really care. I'm not going to have the logo. Do I have one too many divs? Maybe one too many divs there. Not going to use this logo. Let's see if it came out. Okay, Firebase test app. All right, so we kind of cleaned it up a little bit. We really could delete some of this too, but I'm just going to leave this as CSS. It's not a big deal. Let's create our routes now. Oh, let's see. If remember in Nuxt, to create routes, you have to go to the pages. And if you look at the README, I like it has these READMEs, like just in case you forgot. This directory contains all the applications. So it's basically, you create any route with the $view. So we go new file. By the way, if you do dynamic routes, it's a little more difficult, but we're not going to go into that in this video. But I'm going to create a login.view file, and I'm going to create a secret.view file. So I have this snippet called vbase installed, which gives all these really cool snippets. It's, if you go to the Chrome extensions, if you go snippet, you can look at here. I think there's a few of them. I think I have the one that Sarah Drasner did. So I think it's called View Snippets. There's View 2 snippets, VS Code, View VS Code snippets by Sarah Drasner. That's the one I use. So this gives us an easy way to kind of get our template up and running quickly. So I'm saying this is secret. This is secret info. And if I do that, what I want to actually do, so I got the secret. Let's go in the login. Let's do the same thing. Let's create it here with VBase. I'll call this is login view. And what I want to do is I want to actually route to these. So to do that, I need to look at the routing, and that's really going to be in the default file. So if I go to the default.view, so if I look, let's go back to the Explorer. You can see here there's a layouts folder, there's pages, and there's components. So components are like little components that you can share between multiple pages is kind of the way I think about it. And layouts is like the top level that gets loaded soon as your app loads. And this is probably where you want to put your header and footer and things like that. So we're going to create some, and here Nuxt, this is like the entry point for your app. So I thought it'd be a good idea to just create a little bit of a some navigation in here so we can get around. So to do navigation in Nuxt, use the Nuxt link. So I don't know, we're gonna have a home page, and so to do that you have to put the 2 and then the location, and we're gonna have another Nuxt link, and we'll put 2 equal to the secret, and I don't know, we call it secret. We don't need to put page afterwards. I guess we'll call it just secret. And then last one, we're gonna do login. That's gonna be called login, and I'm gonna put these little things here. I kind of want to change the range. Okay, so I have home, Nuxt. I'm missing. There we go. So now I have a home, a login, and secret. This is gonna be really ugly because they're both on the left-hand side. So I'm going to just do a little bit of HTML, CSS here to make it look a little nicer. So main, let's see here. I'm going to put a margin 20 pixels. I always use flex everywhere, so I'm going to use flex, align items, center. You can imagine, I think there's a hotkey in Visual Studio Code for some of these things. I don't know, justify content, I want to do center, and flex direction, I'm going to put column, if I can spell it right, direction. So what does that look like? Okay, so now they're all in the middle. I kind of want to change one more thing here. So I'm going to do main links, and I want to put that width at 30%. And I'll put some spacing between them all, top, bottom. And I think I can do flex here. And I'm going to do justify content, space around. Okay, so yeah, it looks a little nicer. I don't think I want the last one here. Okay, so yeah, we have our routes. So let's see if they work. Click login. Cool, here's our login route, secret route, and our Firebase test. So okay, so we have our 3 routes opening. So the next thing we need to do is maybe create our login page. So we have our login right here, but we really haven't done anything yet. So let's see if we can go ahead and create that. So once again, we'll probably have to add some CSS here, but let's add the HTML. Let's add a class here called login. I don't know. Let me think. Let's actually, I don't think I have the SCSS language installed. So let's see here. If I just want login, I'm going to have login, and I'm going to do margin top 50 pixels, display flex. These are just really simple look and feels. I don't want to do anything crazy. Center, and then align items, center, and then flex direction, column. And I think there's actually a hotkey. Someone's watching right now and be like, Eric, you can just do this in one command with just flex and what? Yes, I know. I just wanted to do it this way to, make it simple for me. Okay, so we have this login here. So there's a login, and let's see here. We probably want a form, and with the action, we're going to delete this and submit, prevent, pressed. So what this is going to prevent the default, and on the submit action, it's going to do the new pressed, which I haven't added in yet. So I'm going to add in methods, pressed, and right now I'll just put pressed, just an alert box, just make sure it works. And I know we'll have another class of login, and in this login we're going to have input, which is type text. We're going to put a placeholder that will say password. Who would have thought? And then I want this to actually be on a password model. So that means we need a data method here, and that always returns an object, which we're going to put password. So we'll probably need email and a password and error. And I'll just comment there. Okay, so we got our password in, and we need our login in. So now we need a password. And the password, I'm going to do another input, but this will be type password this time. And we'll put the placeholder, which will do password. And then we'll do vModel equals password. Cool. All right, and then I'll just have a login button. I think it defaults to a submit action. And after this, we'll have an error class. And in there, I'll have this error.message. And really, but we only want to show this if we have errors. So vif error. Cool, cool, cool. So I think we need a little bit more. Let's see what that looks like. All right, so it kind of looks really ugly and small. So I'm going to just add a little bit of CSS to make it look a little nicer. So where do you have our login here? Let's add in the form. And form, let's add a few things. Display flex, center. You can see a pattern here. Line items, and flex direction. Column. And then I'm going to make our inputs all big. Make them 400 pixels in width. We're going to add some padding. 30 pixels, margin 20, and I'll make it a little bit bigger inside, 21 pixels. And same thing with the button, 400 pixels for the button size, and a height of 75 pixels, and a font size, I wonder if FZ, yeah, there's a whole bunch of keys in Visual Studio Code, I always forget them. 100%. And then if we do get an error, I just want to do a color red on it. So I've saved it all. Cool. All right. So it looks a lot better. So we have these big old password and login. And if you hit enter or you just hit enter, it will give us a mention there. And by the way, don't worry about these errors. This is a part of a plugin I have in Visual Studio on my last pass. Cool. All right, so we have, oh, but, oops, I had the wrong placeholder. It says password is placeholder. This should be email or email at email. Something like that. And this should be not password. This should be my email. Cool, now that looks better. All right, so we have a login. We have a secret. Let's, this video is getting a little bit long. How about I stop it here, and then in the next video, we'll do the next part of connecting it up to Firebase. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe if you like this series. I really appreciate it. I'll be back in a moment.